What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Patronarchy. We're here to talk about the customers that didn't want good service, they want a good servitude. I'm your host, Vincent Diniano. Thank you for joining me on another episode, and hopefully we can all find catharsis in the everyday retail customer service, whatever you got out there. And hopefully today we'll be able to figure that out with our guest, Jeremy. Jeremy's joining us today on this episode.
Hi. Hey, nice to be with you, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How you been?
Good. I'm excited to share the multitude of wonders I've had from my long work history, and I don't know, I've had almost 20 odd jobs in my 20 plus years of working.
Damn, man. So, oh my God, it's jackpot of this. All right. Well, Jeremy, before we get into those kind of stories, won't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, so,
Me?
familiar with you. Yeah, talk a bit. Just whatever you want to talk about.
I'm a mildly disgruntled man in my 40s.
Okay.
I've had the wonder of getting out of the service industry, which I spent a good portion of my starting career into, and now I'm into the more no one talks to me, I said never type of career.
Oh, that's the life. My wife's going for that kind of life. Even me, she's like, don't be in the room.
That kind of works for all. So yeah, but spent my early life working. I think I worked at Lowe's. I was a barista. I worked at a mental health group home. I sold newspaper ads. That was a fun one. So that's one where you just kind of feel like you're selling your soul when some poor old lady whose shop's about to close comes to you. Yes, I want to buy your $500 ad to help me sell Brawl. I really don't think this is gonna work, man.
Oh, it's cool, man. Cool. So before we get into your particular stories, we discussed before we started saying that, let's just talk about little general things. Like, in fact, let's get everything off with that, with the K word, Karen or Karens, depending on what experiences you had, and the rise of like Karen culture, because we had this is a relative. I mean, obviously the name Karen's been around for decades, but the idea of Karen culture, it's really a more recent thing that's kind of popped up in I want to say the past decade mostly. And it's been really kind of interesting because it's not just a name. There's like the Karen hairstyle. It's kind of hard to where to start because there's so many videos online. I mean, if I just typed Karen into TikTok, I could be there all day. All these different videos. Like, where do you have an idea where it started? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it has an origin story. If it does, I'll get the book. But
when we really sit down and talk about Karen-Tology, I think it's important that we sit down and we talk about the different type of Karens that are out there, right?
Yeah.
Because we have a problem where we tend to lump everyone into one Karen. There's, like any scale, there's extremes.
Yeah.
And then there's still extremes.
Yeah.
Karen.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So at the end of the day, I look at it as there's a multitude of Karens. There's your classic. Right? There's your woman in her late 40s who husband stopped sleeping with her, children hate her and don't want to talk to her anymore, doesn't feel like she has any power or respect at home, cut her hair into a way that she has to wash and dry, once a week maybe, if you're lucky. And then has that car that is just big enough to be annoying, but not small enough where it actually fits anywhere the woman's trying to park it. So that's your classic Karen, if you ask me, right? The one who, isn't recording herself being an asshole, but isn't trying to go and make like racial and political stuff. Karen. She's just angry and wants things her way no matter what. That is the just true, pure, entitled Karen is the first one I would say. And then I think you got this thing which we'll call the Cosmo Karen, right? This is the Karen who now thinks that's a lifestyle and it's acceptable and that she needs to go out and educate and inform everyone of the modern Karen, right? This is what the modern Karen expects. She goes out and video records herself, right? She's the one that's initiating the tension, the conflict. She's going out and seeking it, looking for that Karen thing. To me, that's your Cosmo Karen. Okay. You have those two extremes. And then you just got your not your traditional, but your, I don't know, what's a good word for that? Just, I want to say low-class Karen. But just, that one who could explode over anything at any moment, regardless of where you are. Will reach through the drive-through window and start screaming at you because her Diet Coke was not the Diet Coke she bought.
It's Diet Coke Zero. It's a totally different flavor profile. You guys are unprofessional. I want to speak to your manager's manager, his local pastor. I'm going all the way. I will take this to... Where are my kids? You know,
Fred, like, she always seems like she's just that 1 second away from crying, no matter what he's talking about. It's always like she's just about to cry. So that to me is where you need to start. You need to analyze those levels, because those two have sort of become extremes to that traditional Karen who just was that selfish, entitled, me first, it's got to be my way, because, I don't know, we'll talk about the reasons it's got to be my way, but I think you got to focus on that one, because the other ones are sort of an amalgamation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like how you brought up, like, we got different, like, it's not just all Karens are, like, you know, upper class, where we got the lower class Karens, and that's something I learned hard from a former job of mine, where it was positioned in a place where we had we were right between the rich neighborhood and the lower class neighborhood. So we got, you know, and you saw that kind of demanding privilege from both. I mean, both came at it from a different angle, but it was still that demand of, you know, like, I'm the customer. You know, you have to do whatever I want. You need to make me happy. You need to, you know, and that's why I like to, you know, begin the episode by saying, not good service, but good servitude, because it's almost like that for some of them. You know, they may not see it that way, but that need to be dominant, to be control over you. You know, like, even though it's like they act like that. We don't literally work for them, but they treat us like they're the boss at the top of the company, and that, you know, and like they're here to like undercover boss kind of bull crap or whatever.
Yeah, like their $5 box of Kleenex that they can't find the right one that they're screaming out is somehow going to pay your weekly salary.
Yeah.
Right? That's the type of attitude they have. That with this one single purchase is so critical to the lifeblood of a target. Yeah. But if you need to piss her ass, or she might not buy that $5 Kleenex. So
I was going to offer the bundle pack, but whatever, she called me an ass. So.
You can always upgrade. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I think it's also that when we talk about the lower class Karen, to me, that's not the you owe me. It's always been my way, or it's always been this way, and it's not that way. I get angry, right? If you're in the beer distributor, inevitably they might be out of, you know, Magnum cans of Coors Light. And this is where you even get the guy Karens that come in, and they start screaming and yelling at you because there's 85 other beers that they could drink that are all 98% the same.
Right.
But because every day I come in and I have my 2 cans of Coors Light, and
they can't handle that change in the environment. Right. Yeah. It could be a product not having it. It could be like, oh, this thing has cost $4 for 10 years, and now it's $4.25. You know, like, I did not compensate for that when I was figuring out my finances for the week or something, you know, like. It's just like, bro, it's a quarter. It's been for 10 years. You had a good run. You had a good run at $4, but now it's $4.25. Okay, man. With inflation, that's impressive.
Exactly. And you got to think, how much does technology also play into this, right? Like, how much has like these rewards and loyalty systems in the stores played into that mentality that you owe me? I'm a loyal customer. I shop here all the time. You've given me all these other discounts, you know. Yeah, I don't have to click coupons anymore. I don't have to take any responsibility to remember to get those discounts for myself, right?
Yeah.
All you need is my phone number. I expect you to give me everything that I would have got, no matter what it takes. Even that sense of like ease of being selfish, I think is really just ballooned this.
Yeah, I know. I love them, like, you know, like, I've been a loyal customer for years, and like, I think I'm going to take my business elsewhere. And it's just like, oh, okay, great. All right, because I never want to have this experience again. And if I don't have, like, I'm sorry, oh no, what are we going to do without you? Well, like, what? Oh, there's 1,000 other people that come in here throughout the week. Okay, we're going to be fine. We're going to be like, enough to, like, and like, it's a threat, you know? And like, listen, unless you are a literal, like, A-list celebrity, and people know that, oh, like, I'm sure, like, people who follow particular celebrities are like, oh, you know, like, Katy Perry is known for going to this one little coffee shop in LA at least 2 to 3 times a week to pick up a coffee when she's not out on tour. And all of a sudden, you know, she announces, you know, like, oh, I'm never coming back here again. Okay, that's somebody who's got some threats, clout. Yeah. Clout, they got clout, right? They say that, okay, now this, but no, you're just Bob. I'm sorry, Bob, but if you don't come back, we're going to be fine. You're just Bob. All right, I'm sure there are people out there who like you, Bob, but who may or may
Do they like Bob?
they like something, and the other ones like like Bob's an asshole, but he makes great he makes great pumpkins on Halloween, so we tolerate it. He makes the neighborhood look good. He HOA and like some for it, but
And like, it's not worth it to take the abuse anymore.
no.
As a worker, I remember when I was a barista, right? It was a awesome job from 6 a.m. till about 9 a.m. because I had all the old ladies who were just shopping in the morning. They're wonderful. I'm a 20-year-old, so they're just trying to set me up with their granddaughter. It's great. It's classic. And about 8:45, you get those housewives that to roll out of bed, right? And then the grandma who I said, hey, I've got 5 coffees in front of me. Is it okay if it takes 2 or 3 minutes for me to get to yours? She's fine. She's chatting away. She's telling me about her daughter's horses, what college she's in, all this other stuff. Then you get that housewife that comes rolling in at like 8:45, right?
She just dropped the kids off at school.
Just dropped the kids off at school, has her 12-seat minivan or whatever those things are now, right? She's like mad because all she can fit into is like leggings and a sweatshirt because she doesn't have time for anything else. She comes rolling in. Same 5 people are in front of her as the old lady that's in front of her. She's screaming, yelling. I get the slightest thing wrong. She's tearing you apart. She's mad because it's coffee, right? It's a process. Unless like I've got measuring cups and like a beaker, it's going to be different every single time I making you a latte. There's nothing you can do about it. This lady comes in, and I don't know what it was. Maybe I didn't foam the skim milk long enough. Maybe I didn't warm it to 160 degrees exactly, right? Yeah. But I pour this lady this latte, and she just starts screaming at me that it tastes differently, and I'm not listening to her, and that she comes in here every day, and every other person's always gotten her drink right, because it wasn't exactly the same this time. She screamed. Don't mind that there's 7 people behind her, because she spent the last 10 minutes complaining about the 5 people in front of her to begin with. That type of experience, like, I wish you could just walk away.
Oh,
Don't you wish you could just
freeze time, walk away,
or a cup of coffee at them, whatever.
They horribly scarred now. They're your own personal Two-Face. They're not flipping coins. They're flipping the rewards cards. Heads or tails.
How? Do you think they like wake up in the morning and there's like a wheel in the bathroom right after they get done pulling the curlers out of their hair? That they just spin this wheel and it's like, who am I going to yell at today? And it's like teacher, innocent person in a car, 19-year-old who's barely making a living as a bartender. Like, do you think they have that? Like,
They might. Like the entry level carers that like, because we've got levels. We got different levels, degrees, experience, it's like they get the wheel. And then once you get big enough, then you get a board with darts. It's really throw that, like, just really throw the dart down. You're like, oh yeah.
When does it become your identity? When do you evolve into somewhere that becomes your actual identity? Like, what went so horribly wrong in your life? Like, how many times were you divorced before you were 40 and your husband left you for a younger, prettier woman? Like, what's it take that all of a sudden somebody's like, I'm just going to be Karen?
I see it just comes from, and this can come from a variety of, life experience. As it's just a lack of feeling of power or control in your life. I'm not, like, I don't feel controlled by life in this aspect of my life. Maybe like, like they have a, overbearing husband who insists that he has to do all this stuff, and then now, or maybe they, they had kids too early, or something like that. And like, they regret being a mom or some crap like that, and, and not saying they don't love their kids, but, then maybe they just, whatever. It's a lack of, like, something happened in their life that life did not pan out the way they expected. Anyway, back to the subject at hand.
I haven't chat GPT'd yet their definition of a Karen. I wonder what that is.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
We should chat GPT what they have to say the definition of a Karen is. Or like one of those AI picture creators.
Yeah.
Ask him to draw like a Karen in a specific scenario.
Yeah, like, but we need to do like we do like different, like city Karen, farm Karen, Hippie Karen. That'd be a weird one, hippie Karen. That's like a weird mutation. But it's most relaxed. It's just,
It's not some honey farmer. Could you imagine that? Like screaming at a honeybee farmer about the quality of his honey.
that's not how you smoke the bees out of the beehive. You're doing it wrong. Not even the right.
You said these were 12th generation African honeybees. Clearly 6th.
African honeybee is like, oh, it's high quality, motherfucker, over here.
It's a Cosmo Karen.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were Cosmo.
But anyway,
But going back to what you were saying about that whole sense of entitlement, right?
yeah.
That comes out of it. This whole sense of me. That's interesting because you see that start to die off through the younger generation, but continue to grow worse through that Karen age, right? And maybe that's, I don't know if we want to get into the philosophy of it. My philosophy is the consumerism of the 50s and 60s and that surplus that you had in that single family, that single income household, right? So the housewives had the money to start going out and buying whatever they wanted. And there wasn't rampant consumerism like there is now, where there was limits on products and things were out of stock. People were used to getting things immediately, right?
Right.
So I think that laid that groundwork for that. I need things now.
Yeah.
And it's mine, and I've always had access to it, and I didn't have to wait before. Now with Amazon, I can buy whatever I want. So if you don't have it, fuck you, I'll go to Amazon and get it myself, right?
Yeah.
That sense of give it to me now, I think has just started to empower the Karen more and more and more, because they, like you said, they'll go in front of them and say, fine, I'll go to the store next door. This Coors Light shit, or this Bud Light.
Oh, my, oh, God.
This is that
That could be a whole episode.
So we haven't even started talking about the political Karen
No.
yet, which is a whole separate type of Karen,
Oh, my God.
which we could go there. But this Bud Light stuff, right? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? Who are you screaming at?
I know. That stuff is like, so, but here's the thing. Here's what cracks me up about this. And like, you know, what you know, it's Bud Light. I love it when all these people are like, well, I'm not going to drink Bud Light anymore. I'm going to drink this beer. I'm going to drink that beer. And so many of the people are like, I'm switching to this beer. This other beer you're not going with is owned by Anheuser-Busch. It's the same parent company. You're still giving the money to the same people. And I don't know if only some of you guys are aware of this. A lot of these companies have already, in advertising or like on their social media or whatever, and they're, you know, I've come out in support of LGBTQ community. So I'm sorry, your beer, here's the thing, the company's supporting it, but like, so many companies have already come out in support. It's like, but now that it's trans, now we're sponsoring it. Like, if you don't want, like, I don't even think like the cans that they put, what was it, Dylan Mulvaney?
Something like
I
that.
apologize for not knowing the name.
Our producer Karen.
Okay, I guess. All right, exit stage right. But no, but so Dylan Mulvaney, like I hadn't heard of her before, and it was like they put her face on a Bud Light can, but I think it was just like, I could be wrong, but it was like, it was just a special cans they made for her. I don't think they were going to come out in the public. So what, and once again, most of these companies have already been openly supportive of the LGBTQ community. So I don't know why it's pushed over the edge, except for just the fact that in the past year, once again, they've ramped up the trans debate. I remember, like, we were talking like years ago, it was like, we can't let them into the bathrooms because they're going to touch our kids because they're all pedos. I'm just like, listen, pedos are going to get, I'm going crazy because it makes you so. Listen, it doesn't matter what.
Say it.
Being transgender does not make you pedo, and if a pedophile is going to get at your kid, they're going to find, because the one thing you can say about pedophiles is they're determined. They're some determined sons of bitches. All right, it doesn't matter. You could put them into like, you could like take them into like a bathroom or a restroom that's basically a panic room, and they're gonna do what they do in the movie panic room. We'll just smoke you out. We'll smoke. I'm just saying, and they had that eventually, that quieted down, and like the forces that now I won't say the forces that be, the assholes that be. So they were like, you know what? It's been a few years since we really went hard at the trans community. Let's ramp that motherfucker up again. And now it's just like, it's beer. It gets people drunk all the same. And I I mean, people, wasn't that a few years ago, people got pissed at the, like, it was a Cheerios commercial with a black dad and a white mom. It's like, I thought we got past that. I mean, at least we got past it to the point that people didn't admit it that they were still pissed about it. They kept to themselves. But people are just more openly asshole-ish these past it.
I can't believe no one's tried to lynch Lucky yet from Lucky Charms. You're gonna have a mob going out trying to drag a leprechaun out there.
Why are you luring my kid out into the woods? What's in that pot of gold? Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, it's just a pot of gold. And your four-leaf clovers, you fuck.
Yeah, but no, I think a lot of it's driven by fear too, and I think part of the Bud Light Karens are, you've got these hyper masculine, right? Which just is code word for ultra insecure guys who, I don't know, are they afraid they're gonna drink so much Bud Light that like Dylan Mulvaney's gonna appear somewhere and try to take advantage of them? Let's be honest, one, it's Bud Light, so you're never going to get that drunk.
Yeah.
Or if you do, it's because you kind of already were going that way anyway, dude. So don't blame the alcohol for it, especially not Bud Light, because it takes several cases for the average human being to not know what's sex.
Oh, God. I also love these people who, like, they like, Kid Rock. He bought, and in this video, have you seen where he bought like, I'm going to say 5 cases of Bud Light, and he like blasted it with his like rifle. He just blew, did like multiple rounds, like full auto or something. He took them out, and it was just like, he did it like, take that Bud Light. It's just like, yeah, but you bought 5 cases. They don't look like 12 packs. It's like those people who like protested Harry Potter, so they would buy the books and burn them. It's like J.K. still getting that cash. I mean, I don't know. I really don't feel weird about getting cash nowadays, but or like,
hey, people can protest my mortgage. They can pay for it and they can burn the receipts if they really want. I mean, I'm all for this. Like, if you bought it and protest,
if you could trick people to do it, man, you would be the fucking goat. You could get to brag about that for the rest of your life.
But you're right, because if I would take this back to the Karen world of it, it's that high, right? And how much of Karen is that instantaneous high you get, right? It's that high of, I'm not looking at the long-term aspect of the fact that I bought a 6-pack and still gave Anheuser-Busch the money. I'm thinking for this 30-second video, the high of everybody seeing me shoot it is going to be worth it. People aren't thinking about the next step of the cascade. Your average Karen isn't thinking, oh God, I'm being such an asshole that people could probably call the police and have me arrested if they really wanted to. No, it's that high of, I got what I wanted in this situation. Some random person who has no true influence in my life. Like you said, bow down in servitude.
Right.
And that high is just...
Yeah, it's high because we live in the age of, social media. And I'm not even just talking about like videos, just posting on your Twitter saying, I did this or that. And let this boil a lot of this down and just call these kind of people from wherever they come in the country, whatever restaurant or like Best Buy, whatever business they walked into, the way they treat employees, the way they treat, it's just bullying. It's just bullies. We've just now have a new shade of bully, because you go in and you're just like, it's like, it's like you see like in some like dopey movie about a high school, the main character's in high school, and he accidentally bumps into a school bully, and that just sets off this one thing.
Yeah.
Because I was a barista for a short time, not a good one, but the boss was my friend, so I kept the job. But until I got messed up. I had this one customer. She came in all the time, and she wanted exactly 5 cubes in her drink, 5 ice cubes. If you got an extra cube in there, she would ask you to take it out, and it was just the weirdest thing. It's like, it's not gonna like, you think it's gonna dilute it that quickly? Like, how slowly are you drinking this thing? It's just like this is. She was like the silent type, where she didn't go nuts, but it's just like the presence, And I've been over Karen.
And I'm white who like has to stay when you're at the Dunkin' Donuts and there's like 12 people waiting. She's got to be the one that's standing right this close to the counter, staring over, and everyone has to ask her.
She watched putting the cubes in, kept an eye on it.
She's yelling at some worker like 7 stations down that they used like the wrong type of egg, like pre-fried egg. I'm like, what are you doing, Hover Karen? No way. Let people do their job.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. And I've said this before, when you're a customer you deserve good service. I'm not denying anybody that at all. I try to, I'm pretty sympathetic because, I worked at a movie theater. I worked at a restaurant for a short period of time. So, barista, I worked at a sandwich shop. I try to be very patient when I go out because sometimes mistakes happen, and little mistakes, I just brush off because I've made mistakes while working, so I try, I try to, be empathetic about it. But there have been times, yes, I've had bad experiences. I had a bad waiter, or the food came out and it was like, well, okay, you literally left on everything I asked you to take off. And I'd be like, hey, they didn't put something. I'm like, hey, listen, wasn't on my burger. Can I get that by? They're like, oh, sure. And they grab the tomato, or they grab the onion, or they grab the mayonnaise or whatever. And boom, I'm good. And then I'm eating and it's over. It's over. They're like, oh, sorry about that. Sorry for that minor mistake. Let me make up for it. Boom, it's done. And you move on, right? You move on, people. And it's just, and it's sometimes, people have bad days. They have a bad day. You got a flat tire. You didn't get that raise you were going for. The kids are driving you nuts. I understand that. Anger is a natural human thing, but I don't like it when you take it out on other people. And I've done that. I've had my days where, like, I got angry, I was frustrated, and I was a miserable asshole, and my friends or family had to deal with it. And I'm like, what did I do? Why did I act like that way? I gotta go apologize. Just.
Yeah, but you're mentioning something that I think you're hitting on a key to this entire process, that the way people are treated at work has diluted this sense of pride that people had in their job. You look at the boomers, I'll go back to the boomers, the 50s. Oh, yes, you were treated well at your work. You were told, if I work hard and I put in the hours and I do, you moved up, and you did, and you were rewarded. You could take pride in your work because you were proud of the company you work for, or what you were doing. What these Karens don't understand is 99% of the time, if that employee is treating you bad, or isn't smiling, or is feeling like crap, it's probably because the company they're working for is treating them like crap. So when people say, why don't you have pride in your job? Why are you, doing everything to make me feel great about myself? It's because what are these people getting out of it? They're not going to get more money. They're not going to get a promotion. They're not going to get a raise. They're not like that boomer who could sit there and do the same job for 5 years without getting any better and somehow still move up. That world's gone. So you have the Karen, they're like, why don't you have pride in what you're doing, right? Why weren't you going above and beyond for me? Well, you know what, Karen? Because if I give you 7 ice cubes instead of 6 or 5, I'm not going to get anything out of it. And guess what? My boss is still probably going to come yell at me for something that I had nothing to do with. So no offense, Karen, going out of my way for you just isn't worth it anymore.
Because it doesn't matter what you do. I don't care if you're running the drive-thru at McDonald's. I don't care if you're working security at some high-level facility. If you don't feel good about your job, you're never going to have that motivation. And that's happened to me. Only job ever been fired from in my entire life. I won't say the name of it because but it was a bread and sandwich shop. Made fresh bread. I didn't make the bread, but fresh bread, and then you can get sandwiches up at the front, or you can get the loaf, or you get a sandwich, come in, whatever. I was hired as the sweets baker. I don't bake. I applied for front of house to work the register, like throw a sandwich. I could throw a sandwich together, right? But they were like, I applied for that, and they said, well, actually, we need a sweets baker. Would that be something you're interested in? And I told them honestly, like, I don't know how to bake. And they're like, we'll train you. And I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, there's still more money than I was getting at my last job. You guys can trade me. I'm down for it. So they basically gave me a crash course because they were working. It was a skeleton crew at the time. They did the best they could. But I was getting 40 hours a week, and I was getting paid a few bucks more than I did at my last job. With my last job, I was only making 30 plus. I only did 30 hours because they didn't want to give the employees health insurance. And I was only making a little bit above minimum wage. So I was like, I'm still making more money than I was before, and they're going to trade me. Great. Mm-hmm. Problem was, as time went on, business got slow and slower. And bosses started to cut back my hours a little bit. And at first, I was understanding, hey, we're slow. Sure, I get it. But business didn't really start to pick back up. And things got worse, and they started to become my hours were more, to the point where the boss tried to cut me down to like 20 or less hours a week, where they were saying like, oh, you should be all done and be out of here by 9 a.m. Keep in mind, I would get there like 4:30 in the morning to start baking all the cookies and the scones and the shit, so people be ready by 8 a.m.
I don't know how to bake.
Yeah. Eventually, I got pretty decent at it. Right? Like, I was like, oh, actually, I made a scone. I was gonna cry. Yes, I had tried. I made some cookies. I did this or I did that. Not claimed to be the best in the world, but I was like, for some guy who wasn't a baker, I was pretty proud of myself. So, but then they started cutting the hours back, where it was like my schedule would be like 4:30 to like noon. But my boss was like, one day she was just like, you should be done by 9 a.m. And I was just like, what? No, I need a few hours to clean up or like prep for the next day and then clean up. And remember, we opened at 8 a.m. And she was just like, when we open at 8 a.m., you should be able to do that in an hour. And I was just like, well, why are you scheduling me till noon? You've always scheduled me till noon. You always give me that time. And I can't remember what she said. She's just like I schedule you, but it shouldn't take you that long. And I'm like, but then why do you schedule me? And it just came clear. It's like she was trying to come up with some excuse to convince me to accept less hours than I was already getting. Because at this point, I was no longer getting 40 hours.
Sure, for fun, lack of respect.
Yeah. And that started killing my motivation.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the more time went on, the more she was pressuring me to like get done by a certain time. My work suffered. My, all the sweets I would make, the cookies, the scones, whatever, they started coming out worse. And they hired another sweets baker, somebody who actually loved baking at home. So they were just naturally better than me because I just had years of experience. And it got to the point where they were like, oh, she's trying to push me out because she has somebody that can take my place.
Sure.
And it got to the point where I was just like, I kept working, and I know I did not finish at 9 a.m. I was scheduled till noon. I worked till noon because I needed money. I had some of my student loans to pay off. I was trying to get out of my parents' house, find an apartment or friends to live with, whatever. So I worked till noon. That was what I was scheduled to. If you want me to be done, schedule me at 9. But she did, so I kept working, and my work suffered. And one day she pulled me like into the office right after we opened, so right after I finished baking everything. She pulled me into the office. She was like, Vincent, I think you're a really nice guy, but your work isn't that good, or she said something like that. And she said, I have to let you go. And I'm just like, okay. Keep in mind, first time I was like 30 when this happened. I was just like, and and it didn't hurt. I just didn't care at that point. I didn't care about the job anymore. Like I was like Lyft driving on the side for like extra money. So I know I had something to fall back on, but it didn't really hurt because like I just was miserable there.
Well, it's because they dehumanized me.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of, again, you talk about servitude and you talk about like why our Karens exist. Well, it's because companies have dehumanized the employee, right? Again, you go back 30, 40 years, you knew your boss's name. You knew your boss's kids. They cared about growing. They were vested in you, right? They've removed that human factor. I remember my very first job out of college. It's 2006. I had no idea what I wanted to be, but somehow I convinced a local newspaper to let me sell newspaper ads. And they gave me the downtown beat. And this was State College, Pennsylvania, which was a college town. It was whatever. But this is 2006. Right. So if you're following the media at all, newspaper stock's growing like this, right? So we're coming into work every Friday and we're having a game of whose desk is empty next, right? Because the stock's just plummeting on the company. But the other factor remained was newspaper advertising didn't work anymore because online was coming in, all this stuff was coming in. So here I am, I'm like 23, 24, and they're like, hey, go sell newspaper ads to these people with these downtown businesses. A, most clients are college students because it's a college town. Or B, it's just old wealthy people who just go buy whatever they want anyway. So I remember talking about removing the dehumanize the factor and just having challenges of trying to have any pride or care about your job. Walk into this woman's office and she's having a clearance sale and she's like moments away from having a going out of business. And she's one of my regulars and I go in and we're talking about it. And she's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, I'm really thinking about buying this other ad, right? And she's like, I'll buy a half-page ad for my big spring sale or whatever it is. Hopefully that'll do enough to keep me going through whatever it is. And I'm looking at this woman, and I think this is like a $1,500 sale. I'm like 3 months into the job. Easily biggest sale I'm going to make. Look, with my, for me, that's a ton of commission because I made $22,000 as my starting salary. So like anything on that. But I just kept looking at this poor woman thinking, you have like $1,500 left to spend on something to make your company better. And you want to buy a newspaper ad. And all I could think is, this is horrible. I feel awful. Right? My moral compass was telling me, don't do this no matter what. So of course, the woman tells me to do the ad. So I take it back to my office and I go into my boss's office and I say, hey, look, I have this purchase order for a $1,500 ad. It's huge. It's going to help. I was like, but this is going to hurt this woman. Like, I know it's not going to help at all. I was like, I don't feel right taking this woman's money. My boss was like, we're desperate. We're dying. Take the money, move on. Right? To me, like, I'm just thinking, my moral values are completely erased out of any decision-making I have when I'm in the workplace, right? I'm supposed to be this cold robot. I'm supposed to not care. I'm supposed to not have any feeling. And we've beaten that philosophy so hard into the average worker and even into the average consumer that a Karen can think she can come up and just scream in your face all she wants because you're a robot. You don't care. You're just there for 8 hours pressing a button and then leaving for 8 hours, and whatever happened in that window, you have no emotion for. It's like the show Severance. It's a great example, right? People think I don't know if you've ever seen Severance.
I know the basic idea of the show, so I'm with you.
Yeah, it's great. People think that for that whatever time period you're working, you're not a human anymore. You're not that person you are the other 16 hours out of the day. You're supposed to abandon all of that. So then you have these Karens come in and just think that you're not supposed to take any of the emotional damage of what they do. You're right. It's bullying, but it's bullying to the point where, like in schools now, they punish the bully and the kid that got bullied. It's the same thing in the workplace, right? They're punishing. Well, no, it's actually the opposite. Now they're just punishing the person who gets bullied. A bully doesn't get punished. So move from this extreme where you actually punish the bully to then you punish the bully and the person being bullied. And now all we do is punish the person.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, especially, when the pandemic happened, like the past, it's funny when you think like people when you're like, I lived through in a store, like I want to live through something as part of history, but then it's like we get the 9/11, we get the pandemic, that was something like I'm landing on Mars or something, but the pandemic, really one of the things that came out of the pandemic is that, this is a subject that obviously was pre-pandemic, but, raising of the minimum wage, which is just like, far too low to have been raised in like years and stuff like that. And to the point where, after when we were allowed to start going back out to restaurants or like whatever places, a lot of these places had few employees left because after the pandemic, they were like, listen, I wasn't getting paid enough before then. And after that, now I've got all these financial issues because of the pandemic. I'm not coming back unless you gave me a raise. And all these like, I'm not going to give you a raise. No. And I had to anybody who stuck with a place, after the pandemic, I'm not saying, you do what's right for you. If that's your source of income and you need it, stay, not judging that at all. Good. You do what you got to do for you and your family or whoever you got to support. But it's just like, you think some of these companies would like, someone tried. I think something like, we're like, oh, we'll give you $10 an hour or something like that. It's just like, cool, 10. I can afford a single piece of gum this week. Yay! It's just, or something like that. And just
Think about how stupid that is. Because as a business owner, you're thinking, if I pay this person more money, that's less money I'm going to be able to put back in my pocket, right? But then that business owner isn't thinking, if I don't pay this person more money, I'm not going to have enough people coming in and buying stuff that I'm still going to lose money out of my pocket. So where am I going to lose more money? Paying my employees an extra $2 an hour or not being able to serve 25% of my customers, right? They don't think about that stuff, which is just what amazes me. And in large corporations, it doesn't matter because it's at such a minute spot. But when you look at the service industry, why are these service workers going to go and just get abused? Like literally abused. When you could go drive a forklift in a warehouse somewhere for $24 an hour, or go stock shelves overnight at a grocery store for $16 an hour where you don't ever have to talk to anyone. you're right. Coming out of the pandemic, two things really happened. One, people realized how much shit they don't have to buy.
Yep.
So they don't need as much disposable income. So they're not going to put up with that shit job for that extra income because they thought they had to buy this designer brand cereal or that they had to get this new clothes every, right? When you realize
Designer brand cereal. Did you just think goof like Gucci Lucky Charms or some shit?
Gucci Chimes.
Captain Crunch is up his game.
I knew. I'm just saying.
I know. I just couldn't let it go. But no, continue.
But now I'm thinking about Vera Wang cereal and all. Well, penis cereals, but that's
Yes. Oh my God.
But again, it's the abuse might have been worth it when you didn't have better options, right? But the marketplace is so much different now that the job that when you have the difference between, hey, I can go work at a grocery store and do something menial in my mind for $8.75 an hour, or I could go wait tables. Maybe someone's going to scream at me, but I might make $20 an hour and it's worth it. Now it's just not worth it. I don't know what they expect from people. Like,
It's all it's about the bottom dollar. And it's I just it's so hard. I can't think of. It's the allure of money. These top. You got these companies and the CEOs, the top execs. They're making a ton of money. They're set for life. Sure, they're set for life, but like they don't want to miss. It's just I don't know. I'm getting frustrated thinking about it.
It's not.
Let's take it back to
If you're going back to the crux of all of this, which is people don't have consequences for their decisions and their actions anymore. To your point, right? If I'm the CEO, no matter what decision I make, if I'm the CEO for a Fortune 500 company, I'm probably going to make $10 million this year.
Yep.
Whether my company loses everything and goes under, or they're the most profitable, they're still going to make a shit ton of money. So what's their incentive to care about what the A Karen comes up to that door. She knows if she screams at you enough, she's going to get what she wants.
Yep.
Regardless, there's no consequence to it. So why isn't she going to do it? Because that's immediately, at the end of the day, got to get her what she wants.
Even during the pandemic, there was this video, like, it was like, I think it was like still 2020, so when things were still pretty bad. And this one, I want to say it was like, I want to say it was Red Lobster. The Red Lobster said, okay, we're opening up, we're taking orders. And everyone was like, holy shit, Red Lobster, I love Red Lobster, wherever the hell it was. I could be wrong, but the thing was, they were taking people to like orders over the phone because they weren't letting people back in, but so they can come pick it up, grab your meal, grab your dinner, leave. But they were also taking orders online, and at this one location, they really underestimated how many orders they were getting. They got 200 orders in an hour. So next thing you know, you have lines of people lining up to this restaurant, coming in, and like they're behind. They weren't, they weren't expecting 200 orders in an hour or something like that. And I just wanted this video of a Karen coming in, and she's like, I want my food now. And they're like, when like you have to wait, and they're like, and because how many orders? There was like 2-3 hour wait times, and this woman would not accept that, despite the fact there was a visible long-ass line down the street of people coming in to get some cheddar biscuits or what the hell ever. And she just like, she nearly got into a physical altercation because they're like, you can't come in the restaurant. Like, I think that most they were like, let them come to the front counter at most. But like, she skipped the line. She's pushing through. She got into a physical altercation, like straight up fighting, pulling hair with this one employee. And the one employee, God bless her, she fought back, and her other fellow employees, like, the host and the wait staff, everybody, they backed her up. They tried to separate the fight. They had her back, and police got called in. It's just like, guys, I get it. The pandemic sucked. And when the first time I was able to, once again, go out with friends, get a bite to eat. Oh, my God. I remember the first time I was able to sit at a bar and have a beer with friends. This place in Millville we used to go all the time. But it was like, it's called, what's it called?
Wings? They had great wings.
No, not Sidelines. But we like Sidelines too.
If you want it sponsored.
Yeah. Not Sidelines. What's up? How you doing? So with Smokies? I probably don't have my brains on it, but he was just nice, even though like things were different because like only sections of the bar you could sit at. You have like a couple seats, and then they would have like 3 or 4 seats taped off because they were trying to keep people separated. But damn, it was just nice, and I get that. And even though like it was limited seating in this like little dive bar that we love to go to, because even a dive bar, it's like I'm talking about like a legit dive bar, not the kind of like dive is our aesthetic, but we're actually very no. This place was like around for 50 years. The same 3 users have been sitting at that table. All he's still talking about is around
Taking a shot on the corner.
exactly, like that kind of stuff, and it was just nice. I get to that sense of normalcy.
Yeah, there's that, like,
But you don't.
bit in the bar for putting your cigarette in.
Yeah, I know.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but it's like everybody wanted that sense of normalcy. All right, and if not, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go to war over some bacon wrapped scallops. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? People do go to war, right?
and then, so, I'd love if your producer, Karen, you could show a couple videos of what I refer to as the Crusader Karen. And this is that, and you saw them all over. We won't get started on TikTok. It's beautiful and ugly all in one.
I get it.
But what you saw during the pandemic was that takeoff of the TikTok videos of the Crusader Karen going into places and starting fights, because I don't know if they wanted that normalcy you're talking, but purposely going into stores without masks, purposely trying to start these altercations and videotaping them, and like thinking they're helping the public sometime by breaking this horrible patriarchy of wearing masks in places. That is the one I truly don't understand. The I'm gonna go videotape myself purposely being an asshole, ruining a perfectly innocent person's day for what? That, you're right, I don't under that idea of just antagonizing the system for the sake of what? Because things changed and I don't like it?
Oh, man. Well, no. I want things to be the same, but the world's shut down. There's a secret society of like top level Karens, the Karen-Tology. Karen-Tology is what they called. I went. So there's like a room. They're like in a secret room where they all get together.
They have a Karen Nation.
Karen. We are building out the mythos here. The war is rich and deep. But anyway,
They have to sacrifice a small child that they pull off the street. It's sort of the whole process. An unaborted baby.
we're getting dark. You see, no, it's getting dark. But anyway, man. Oh God, I feel that we covered a ton. I feel like we went. I feel like we had a lot. We had a lot of good stuff to talk about here. But
I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about the science behind Karen-Tology and really what's going on.
yeah, no, just thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and hey, if any of you guys, if you're listening or like on Spotify or watching on YouTube, wherever you are, let us know down in the comments. What are your opinions on everything that's going on with the whole cults of Karens? What stories of Karen encounters have you had? Let us know down in the comments. That's a lot of what the show is about. It's about the catharsis of us all getting together and sharing these shared negative events that we've had. Let us know. Please let us know down in the comments. We'll try, we'll do our best to get down there and reply to you. But once again, Jeremy, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it. It's been a fun time. And thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Patronarchy. Take it easy.
Like and subscribe.
And everything like that. And I've seen that hairstyle. When you see it nowadays, you're just like, you're having it. What's up, Gato? What's up? I know. My delicious aguav. Do you have a story?
The story is underwhelming.
Sorry, man.
Okay, no, Bixby's done that to me.
We have guest tests every so often.
Yeah.